Paintball Nerd.
All right, today on Paintball Nerd, we've got the founder of Off the Leash Training, and he just finished up his season with the Ironmen. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Mr. Paddy Gleason.
Hey. What's up, Z?
What up, playa?
What's up, paintball community?
What's up, man? Paddy, how would you describe your season here with the Ironmen?
A learning experience.
Tell me more.
An opportunity, you know what I mean? And no regrets.
What was the biggest learning opportunity?
I think just one, being under the shield, you know what I mean? I think I told this to my parents when the talks were, at the end of last season, that I had an opportunity to go try out and possibly be on Ironman. And when I was probably 15 or 16 years old, we had traveled up to California to go play a tournament, and we had kind of close ties with Aaron Carter back then, and he took us on a tour of Dye. I met Billy Wing back then. He probably doesn't remember, but I was just a little tyke, and I was like, man, this is like this is what I want to do. I want to go play pro. I want to be on these posters, all the things. And Dye is such an iconic logo and just an iconic brand, So that's, I was honored just to be there, Yeah,
it's an incredible organization. Dye is, and then the team Ironman is a legendary organization. It's the longest running pro team. The amount of legendary players and industry leaders that have worn the shield is impressive, So
I'm sorry, just to jump back to what you were saying, like things that I've learned, like just being around those people, right? Billy Wing, meeting and developing a relationship with Chris Williamson, but also just the player aspect, right? Nick Sloviak has always been on my kind of bucket list. I've always wanted to play with him. Even Keith the Vet, me and him were joking. We had a relationship just via social media, but then would see each other at events, and we'd chop it up. So I always wanted to play with Keith, and then the homie Al. Come on now. So it was just a privilege to share a roster with these guys, and then just to learn in just having a different perspective of the game. I came up in the Thunder camp. We have our social norms and how we play, kind of, you go from area to area, right? With paintball, you're going to get different views and different theologies on how to play the game. And we're very, Pacific Northwest, but going down, and then you have, learning from Sloviak, but learning from Al, and just the different perspectives that you pick up along the way. And that's paintball, right? That's why we do what we do, so that we can share stories, we can share just our mindset and everything like that. And so that was just a pleasure,
Yeah. So are you sticking around the Ironman camp for 2024?
No. It was just released that I officially on the free agency. I wanted to, thank you to Vince for kind of holding it back a little bit, but I needed to do my due diligence and just thank everybody at Dye from the top down, and just let everybody know that I will respectfully be stepping back for the next season from the shield.
So Paddy, why do you feel like it's time to move on from the Ironman?
I'm not going to be here pointing fingers. I always live by the rule, like anytime you point a finger, there's 3 pointing back. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so to say like it was because, it's hard to not like dance around, like just from my personal experience, and that's all I can speak on, of this was probably my hardest season
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's not just because it wasn't because of paintball. It's because I had my first, we had our first kid, dad for the first time, learning, and baby was born in February. I gave myself that little bit of grace period, and maybe I did it too soon. But then I was right at Texas, which was pretty much a month after the baby was born, and then it
Yep.
was off to the races from there. Everybody knows that the paintball schedule with travel and everything is pretty tough. So learning just to be a new father, but then learning the balanced life was very challenging for me. And so I would be first to report, like, I had my expectations going into Ironman, which was very high, and I wanted to insert myself within the camp and offer my skill sets, and when it all was said and done, I definitely feel like I fell short. And so, I apologize to the team that if I fell short and I didn't live up to the expectations that you may have had for me, that
Hmm.
I'm sorry for that. And on the same side of the coin, like, I just didn't have the bandwidth. Like, I was trying everything I could, I was trying to just be, and I try to be the embodiment of OTL, right? It's just like, you want to be doing the best that you can with whatever responsibilities that you set for yourself. And I was trying, and I just don't think I don't think it shook out like that. And you know, it just, maybe I wasn't clicking with the guys. I would be lying to say that the playtime didn't get to me, right? I'm a competitor. I want to
Yeah.
play. I'm not, I'm not an individual that just is content with riding the pine. And so I would be lying to say that also played into account. I think the things in my life as at this moment is everything is an investment, right? And am I getting the return on investment that's worth it for me to continue going? And
Right.
I just don't think that was it. And that's just plain and simple. I just, if I'm gonna be sacrificing time away from my family, and I'm gonna be
Mm.
sacrificing work, I need to have some type of tangible exchange going on there.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like it was a lot of things. You had new responsibilities as a father, and that takes up a lot of time. And, for you, it's like you're sacrificing time away as a brand new father to invest into this team. And with that investment, you didn't get the return of playtime. So it's like now you're looking for somewhere else to get it.
Right. And like I said, I'm not pointing fingers at nobody. It's just how it shook out.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. This is pro sports, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not unfamiliar to that.
Sure.
Just with being on staff with the Major League Rugby team here, I see it firsthand too, being from the coaching perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Performance wise, being a pro athlete, you have to produce, you know what I mean? And so, like I said, when it comes back to that, like, kind of bandwidth of just what I had capable as a human being, I was trying, you know what I mean? And if that wasn't enough, then it wasn't enough. I'm not going to sit here and cry and say I should have gotten more playtime and this and that. That's just not how it shook out. And ultimately that just leaves you with a decision to make, right?
Yeah.
And it's a business decision, you know what I mean? And that's where I came to, if we'll see what shakes out over this off season, and everyone's asking me what I'm going to do or who's biting and who's this and that, and I'm like, you know what, we're a week after the event and I need to spend some time with my family and just decompress and soak
Yeah.
it all in and digest this last season. Like I said, it was probably my hardest season, so I got to digest that and if see what comes along, and it has to make sense.
Well, it's certainly big news for the Ironman, Patty, because not only did you leave, but Corey also announced that he's leaving. So, you look at any other pro roster and it's like, well, you got two main guys leaving. That's the huge impact to their roster. So I could only assume that other people are leaving Ironman as well, which it's like, they're going through that. That means they're going through another rebuild. Um, Outside of you and Corey, do you know anyone else that's looking?
That's look sorry looking
to leave Ironmen.
looking to leave. Well, I know Chris Treegarden was confirmed that he was leaving, and congratulations to him. He had, I think it was at Cup that his wife ended up telling him that they're going to be pregnant with their third. So congratulations to him. And that's another thing, right? I mean, it just starts, real life starts to hit you. And he was in the kind of the same boat. He just couldn't commit to another season. It was travel was getting hard, and having the family at home and everything like that. So I know that he has confirmed that he was leaving.
That's 3.
Yeah. So that's 3. Other than that, no. I don't know.
I mean, right, dude, Ironman had a rough season this year. I mean, you were right there. You saw it. So, I mean, what are some things you think that organization can do, outside of filling the 3 spots that are now available? Like, what else can that organization do to, get back to competing at the highest level?
It was tough. And no place that I haven't been before too, right? I've been in those trenches. I've been in those trenches with Thunder, And I'm not gonna air out any dirty laundry or anything, but whenever and I take this experience from, and I'm only going to relate this to the Major League Rugby team with the Seawolves, right? Being on staff with them and going through a rebuild with them as well, and just learning some of the great things that the coach, his coach Clarkey, who's the head coach, and some of the things that he's implemented. Whenever we're like rebuilding an organization like that, you have to have everybody on the same page. Everybody has to have buy-in, right? Everyone has to believe that they are a contributing member and worthy of being on that spot. And so whether we fell short of that this season or not, I think that just needs to continue moving forward as they go, right? They need to build it from the foundation up and have people, you got to have that. Any top team you have to have that magic, right? You got to have that connectivity between the individuals, and just from my it was a struggle to try and get us all on that same page, and believing in each other. I think that is gonna help. And
sure,
I think communication across the board will help with that. I think a lot of things went unsaid. I think some things were kind of being swept under the rug. And like I said, I'm not trying to cause any rifts here. And I'm just a player that has coming through the ranks and stuff. These guys have been invested. There are individuals that have been invested for now last few seasons to try and do that, and so I'm sure they kind of have a little bit more grasp on the direction and how they're going to execute that. But yeah, we had the talent. Like we had the talent. Like it was there. Just missing the mark on putting it together, and sometimes that's just how it goes, and it's part of the growing pains, you know what I mean? And sometimes those growing pains suck, man. What can I say?
Well, I mean,
it's so uncomfortable, it's just so uncomfortable.
That's part of it, right? It's necessary.
Like at the beginning of the season, I was fully aware of the situation, and I really did want to, like I said, insert myself to be a contributing member to that rebuild. You know what I mean? That was every intention, and it just didn't work out.
Well, I think this is also on the coaches, right? It's like an individual player can have all the intentions of, okay, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to try and get this thing to mold together. I'm going to try and be this type of leader that brings his team together and gets everyone on the same page. But you also need the leader of the team or leaders of the team to empower that person. Not just you, but it could be anyone. The leaders on the team need to be empowered to actually be leaders. And that way, when they speak up, it's not like, well, this guy doesn't have a voice here. It's like the coach says, yes, listen to Paddy. He's got the experience, he's got this and that. And that's part of what adds to that, that adhesion together. When everyone's not on the same page, it's because the players are trying to get everyone on the same page, and the leader might not be actually empowering that player to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, you're exactly right. I think I'm trying to speak in cryptic here too, but when I was mentioning communication, that's right in that same vein. There needs to be a complete understanding of the goals in mind, and making everybody feel a part of that process. I know, and it wasn't just myself, but I know that people weren't feeling heard, and this and that, and some of the internal dramas and stuff like that just never really had true resolution and stuff like that. And it just starts layering, and it could be something a pebble size, and it could be boulder size, but it all just started to become sediment on top of each other. And I think that had started, I mean, it did start even before we made the merge over as well. And so it's just like some of that stuff has to start getting excavated and cleaned out before any kind of what we call in Hawaii ho'oponopono, which is healing, happens.
Well, I know that you certainly don't want to put anyone on blast. Like you said, you don't want to point fingers, so I don't want that either. I don't want you to, this is not about burning bridges. It's about just really getting to the why behind it, because when someone leaves a team, it's like there's legitimate reasons behind it. So, instead of putting someone on blast, let's talk about, Paddy, what are you really going to miss about playing with the Ironmen? That hard, huh?
I know, right? Shit, dog. I'm gonna miss the swag. Shit, I'm gonna miss rocking some of the shields. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man, I hope that doesn't sound cold of me or not, but
it can. It's this is like, it's not like you're burning bridges here. It's not like we're not making friends. The reality is you played for an organization and it didn't work out.
Right.
So it's like, and that's the truth, and everyone knows the truth.
So not to speak up, I mean, I didn't play much, like I said, and like I said, though, it was a hard season. It was hard for me to keep my mind present at the paintball fields as well, because I was so worried about my kid and everything like that. Just being a first dad, right? The natural growing pains of that too. So it just it honestly felt like a blur as well. But I guess mean,
Paddy,
I'm gonna let's just say I'm gonna miss what I miss every time I'm in the off season and stuff like that. I just love playing paintball. You know what I mean? And I get to play paintball with the best in the world. So I'm gonna miss that. And these guys aren't, they're not terrible guys. They're great guys. So I'm gonna miss just the camaraderie and the brotherhood that you get through just playing paintball. I mean, whether that's with Thunder, Ironman, wherever I go, I tend to think that I'm a pretty easygoing and nice guy, so I'm gonna have friendships there regardless. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna miss that for sure.
So if the Ironman called you up and said, Paddy, we know that you're leaving. We can't have that. We need you to stay, Paddy. We need you to stay. We're gonna play you. We're gonna start you every point next 2024. Like, you're in. Like, you're not sitting. Are you sticking around, or are you still looking somewhere else?
Oh, that's a tough one, man. I would have to think about it. That's the honest truth. I mean, it wouldn't be an automatic yes.
But it fixes one of the problems, right?
It wouldn't be a hard no either. You know what I mean? But yeah, that would have to be a conversation that we have privately and have to discuss some of the things that wouldn't, need to have changed.
Yeah. So what team would you like to go to?
let's see who's on my bucket list. Um, I think, I mean, it'd be nice. I mean, I think anybody, some of the top teams would be fun. I mean, obviously, I have good relationships with the boys on Heat. I feel like I have good relationships with the boys on with Damage. Dynasty. I mean, you name it, man. Dynasty would be fun. I mean, all these names just for the the chance to share again the knowledge with some of these other top players, right? I think when you're, I maybe not in age, but I'm a young player in the pro brackets, so I'm constantly trying to get that wealth of knowledge, So just inserting yourself. I mean, I've always told in recovery, if you want to be successful, you got to hang out with the winners. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to go hang out with some winners, and continue that process. And again, just continue learning, having that growth mindset. So inserting myself into any team that is willing to share that and bring someone on that is, again, a young player in terms of pro that is hungry to just keep elevating, then I'm game for that.
So let's take off like the dream team out of the equation, because we all have the same teams that we'd love to play for, obviously.
Yeah, right.
So let's picture and imagine for a moment, your skill set's better than anyone else. You're a very self-aware person as far as like your abilities and where you fit on the field. So picture and imagine that Paddy Gleason as a player, and what roster do you think that you could go and have the biggest impact on, just based on your abilities and your playing style?
I've been, jogging some of these through my mind. In just the natural process of, like I said, digesting this last season, it's like, okay, where would you like to go? And I would say right out, things that have popped up into the list was one. I'll shout out to my boys on the Bears. Right? Do I want to go back to the Bears? I all those guys are my homies now that you had one season underneath them. You talk about magic, right? And the chemistry that you had. We had taken 5 guys from Seattle Thunder, 5 guys from the Brooklyn Bears, mashed us together, and finished in 6 overall for that season. And it was instant chemistry, right? Like we had it pretty good, and got to know those guys. And so if I wanted to go and have like a fun season with the boys, like that would be one of my top choices. Plus my homie GJ, right? Playing with GJ again would be a blast. And then I'm big into just kind of the mindset and culture of things and everything like that. So it's like who could benefit from those skill sets as well. And this is all just theory. I thought it would be interesting to go to the AC Diesel camp, right? You got these big name guys on that team, and something had fallen short for the public's expectations, right?
Sure.
I think that's the public's expectations of where they should have finished. But they are somewhat rebuilding and trying to find that magic element to make them successful again. I was like, it would be interesting to go and see the inner workings of what's going on behind the scenes at that camp as well. And then actually, for my third pick, and I've always, I guess third and fourth pick, I think I've always been a fan of the Hurricanes since they stepped on the scene. I like what Mike's doing down there, and I think that they have that family element that is really deadly, where you can you may not have like those big name players or what again public views as like these flashy skill sets and stuff like that, but they make it work and they're extremely disciplined on the field. And I think I could probably benefit from learning some of that. But like I said, I'm a fan of those guys, so it would be cool. And then obviously, you know, the homies, PB Fit, they, you know,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
PB
that'd be
Fit.
sick,
I am
dude.
a fan of PB Fit ever since, you know, they got relegated. I've been talking with them since then. We practiced them a lot. We would go down to Texas and practice against them a lot. So the Luckout family, and then Scott Stewart, Chavez, like big fans of all of them. So I've been rooting for them. And so when they did and accomplished what they did this last season, you know, hats off to them. And yeah, I was like, man, that would be also pretty fun. So, and this is all just,
Dude, I can tell
this
you
is
put
all
some
just
thought
theory,
into it.
right? this is all just
Yeah, but like all your
personal.
choices are really good. Like Bears, like that's almost like a shoe-in because you got like that's like you got some old teammates there. So I don't know if it's as like sexy as the other choices, but like that would make sense with the Bears. AC doesn't sound like a good time for you for some reason. Like I just
That's
don't
fine.
see
That's fine. Like I
see.
said, it's all theory.
Yeah, like but Hurricanes is something because like Bianca's a really great communicator, and it sounds like you're missing that with the Ironmen, so you could really benefit from that type of leadership. So that could be cool. But like Fit is spicy. Like, you know, coming back up to the pro ranks and Paddy Gleason joining that, you could definitely contribute to that organization. I don't know, dude. I can't wait to see where you end up. I mean, I hope
Who
it
knows, man? Who knows? Who knows who wants
yeah.
a schmuck like me?
Well, I mean, you'll definitely you'll end up somewhere, Patty. You can contribute to any pro organization, so it's exciting to see where that might go. We'll be following it.
Off season's always really fun.
Yeah. What's new and exciting with Off the Leash? I mean, since we last spoke, you've started training a lot of paintball players.
Yeah. I think so. And then that's another thing, right? I mean, if I've been telling everybody that has been asking me, it's like, well, what are you gonna do? I'm like, dude, I'm literally just a leaf in the wind right now. Just kind of like seeing where it goes, see where it takes me. Cause I have the athlete part of me that wants to continue playing. Wants to find a good fit for me. So I mean, dude, okay, so I'm also whatever decision I do make, and I even had this conversation with Shane too when I first got on there. I mean, it was like I wanted to find like this next place. I want to find my home. Like I probably, who knows how long I'll be playing pro. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be this one like kind of always just switching teams and stuff like that. So I want to wherever I go, I want it to be my next home. But the other side is if I happen to take a season off, there's just so much to do. You know what I mean?
Sure.
OTL is rapidly growing and desperately needs just some of my TLC, you know, and so I can help nourish that and grow it into the potential that it's always had. And so OTL is growing, training lots of athletes, and that's just a blast to be able to take my skill set with the strength and conditioning and then tailor it towards the athletes that feel it on the field, you know, make it extremely applicable for us to be weapons on the field. And I actually don't have it right off the top of my head, but we had like 12 or 13 of my athletes that were at Cup that made it to Cup, and 9 or 10 of them all finished within the top 10, you know, and did it in style. So they were looking good, looking fast. Grayson Gladstone looked like a speed demon out there. I was just like, dude, he has exploded. I've been training him since he was in semi-pro and then all the way through his transition up. So that's just been an absolute pleasure watching his growth and to see him perform so well into Sunday with Aftermath. So OTL, I'm going to continue doing that. I have what we call the base camp going on, which I started maybe mid of this year, and I'm just kind of continue kind of softly pushing that. But I wanted to come in at a price that you can't really argue against. So it's like $9.99. I know the paintball lifestyle is expensive, especially through divisional play, right? Last thing you want to do is be spending so much money towards training, even though in my opinion that's the one thing you should be spending money on, but that I'm a little biased. So I wanted to come in on a low level tier for these guys, and so $9.99, can't really go wrong. And I have PDF training programs on the website for that. It's like a backstage pass to the website. So there's PDFs, there's videos, there's like coaching advice, nutrition advice, there's some cookbooks. So there's going to be just a collective of content on there that the individual can basically tailor their training to their lifestyle, their schedule, their fitness levels, right? And so you can kind of just a la carte yourself a training program. And then I'm going to just continually add to that as we go. And so that's one thing that if I had more time, I'd be able to pump more content onto that for the players. And then I do have my one-on-one or my remote coaching, which is the OTL athletes that you see me pump on my social media all the time, which is where we do the Zoom calls, we do nutrition check-ins. It's a little bit more intensive, a little bit more accountability with that. But off season is always really big. It's my favorite time in terms of the paintball season because I get a full 3 months with that individual to really, and I'll be honest, a lot of people do need help, more help than they actually think they need, to build them up for a good foundation so that they can meet the demands of what it takes to be, a dynamic athletic player. And so
how do we sign up for these programs?
One, reach out to me just via social. The base camp is on the website, offtheleashlifestyle.com, where you can just check out from there and then you get the backstage pass. But if you want the remote coaching and stuff like that, I have to send out the links to people to do that. Because I do like to get a little bit more information grabbing from them in terms of like an assessment and just a brief assessment to know which it works for them. Just so I can screen them a little bit more before I actually sign them up onto the coaching. Gotcha. So yeah, those are the two ways that I pretty much get the leads. And then obviously my clothing drops and everything like that has been really fun. I did the last 2 WC events. So shout out to Hinman for that. I love going down there, and I do plan on trying to hit all 4 events next year as well. To have a booth down there for the not only the merch, but it's a great opportunity for me to just have face value with the local athletes and talk to them about the training and stuff like that. So I get to represent OTL in that sense and not be a coach and not be a player. I get to be Paddy, the face of OTL.
There we go. Cool, Paddy. Well, we appreciate the update here. Is there anything that you'd like to part with?
Just again, I would, all the boys on Ironmen, thank you guys. All the staff, pit staff, Billy, Chris, thank you for the opportunity. And I wish them the best in their future endeavors. I really do. And I really am excited to see where I land. I hope it is really something, a place really exciting, and that I am able to use my skills and my my talents, man. I felt like I was a little dormant this year, so I'm ready to get back out there and go in shark mode.
Cool, man. We're excited to see where you end up.
Thank you for having me on. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Paddy.
Thanks, Z.